Say hello to the new Gen 3 Tern GSD cargo bike. In this video, I want to cover the 9 things you should know about the latest GSD cargo bike, how it differs from the previous generation, new weight capacity, the different models, and why cargo bike testing standards really matter. Before we get started, if you're new here, welcome. I'm Arleigh, aka Bike Shop Girl. I'm a bike mechanic who once owned a cargo bike shop. My passion in life is to help people get on the bike and leave the car at home when they can. I have a pretty lengthy relationship with the GSD. The first version, which launched in 2017, inspired me to open a cargo bike shop. The second version launched just as I was closing my bike shop during COVID and going to work for Tern. And now this third generation is launching just as I'm starting back up working with Tern after taking a few months off. And I gotta be honest, it's one of the reasons I'm going back to work for Tern. Now, I've ridden some variety of this bike in different countries, hundreds and hundreds of miles with my kids on board, filming gear, camping gear. I've even carried photographers and videographers on the back. Before we compare the bike to previous generations, I want to go over the key features of what makes a GSD a GSD if you're not familiar with the bike. If you know all about the previous GSD, look for chapters below to fast forward. The GSD launched in 2017 and really redefined what a cargo bike is capable of. Its length is not much longer than that of a normal bike. Sometimes it's even shorter. This is mainly due to the 20-inch wheels on the front and back, and the tight frame design that you can kind of get a hint of in here that Tern was able to pull off as they're originally a folding bike company. This design is stiff, confident, inspiring, and easy to ride. Suddenly, when that bike launched, it allowed petite moms to carry 2 kids in the back. Families could share the same bike since it's one size fits all. Cargo bikes could now travel or be stored more easily. And for folks without kids, they were realizing that cargo bikes are fun and useful to use for everyday life, like grocery hauling and normal car trip replacement. Yet bike designers from other companies draw a lot of inspiration from the GSD design features, even though sometimes they don't fully understand why something is being done or how to do it well. I realized this a lot over the last few months, reviewing some of the competitors in this space. They might have a feature, but they did it to check a box and didn't fully bake out why it was needed. Here are some of my favorite key features of the GSD. The frame and fork are tested and certified to German cargo bike standard DIN 79010. The e-bike system is going to be from Bosch and certified to UL 2879. All the models are going to use the Bosch cargo line motor that's giving you 85 Newton meters of torque with Class 1 assistance. The cargo line motor is the most powerful motor offered by Bosch and a treat to use when climbing hills or carrying large humans around. The GSD is pre-wired for 2 batteries, so you can always add a second battery to extend your range. The bike is one size fits most, so you can quickly adjust the handlebar and seat post between riders of different heights without a tool. So on the front, I'm just going to easily open and close these quick releases, and I can go up and also adjust the handlebar. This is still a very stiff feeling handlebar and steering setup, which I can't say about all the competitors. This piece right here is called your handle post, and it can fold out of the way, which has a couple big advantages. So the first one is for transportation. So say you want to take it in your car. You fold this out of the way, you drop your seat post all the way, and suddenly I can put it in the back of a Subaru Forester or Outback without removing the wheels at all. The other thing it does is paired with vertical stand, where this bike can stand on its rear rack. You have a really nice setup for storage, so you can kind of stand it up out of the way, fold that handle post out of the way, and it can tuck away in the garage in that spare closet. Yes, a cargo bike in the spare closet. It's crazy. But the other thing I use that vertical stand for is going to be service. These bikes start about 75 pounds without accessories, and it's really hard to get it in a normal bike stand. So I love that I can service it, even in my shop, in vertical, or when I'm out and about, if I get a flat or something sounds funny, I can stop, put it in vertical stand, attached to something so it's not wiggling around on me, and quickly adjust the bike, which is really cool. A unique feature for the Tern GSD is the locking kickstand, which is called a lock stand. This feature rolled out with the Gen 2 version, and it's now something I want on all heavy-duty cargo bikes. The way it works is once your bike is up on its kickstand like this, you can't roll it forward without using this lever on your handlebar. You pull that lever forward, you roll the bike forward, and there you go. And to put it back on, you just use it like a normal cargo bike kickstand. You can't talk about a Tern without talking about accessories. There are a crazy amount of really well thought out accessories to personalize your bike, including some new ones to come. But you can kind of see this is how I have my bike decked out to carry 2 kids and their backpacks or groceries home. And these are such well thought out accessories. And I often found in the bike shop, it's kind of the tipping point for folks to choose a Tern over a competing brand, because it really fills in the gaps and makes it so you don't have to think so hard to figure things out of how you're going to carry a kid and a child seat in the back, or my friend likes to say a watermelon home, just put in that front rack. I love that the accessory designers truly use these bikes and also pull from inspiration from the Tern community to update or refine accessories to make them truly useful. And the last feature is actually Tern as a company. They are focused as an entire company on helping you replace car trips with bike trips. This bike is not a category they're checking. This is actually what they do, and the whole team from Taiwan to the US, Germany, Finland, and beyond are focused on helping everyday people replace car trips with bike trips. They also only sell through dealers, which I appreciated as a dealer, but really appreciate after the last few months of working with consumer direct cargo bikes. Not many consumers are qualified or able to safely work on an e-bike or cargo bike. So it's so important to ensure there are good bike shops around to maintain service and just be around for any long-term needs. Now let's talk about what's new with the Gen 3 Tern GSD. The major upgrades from the Gen 2 include a stronger and stiffer frame and rear rack. Building the bike, the first thing that stuck out to me was the move to a bolt-on rear rack instead of the integrated frame that we've seen in the previous Gen 2 and Gen 1 models. The other thing I noticed was the tubing size and diameters actually much larger and overbuilt. For example, check out the seat post size on the new bike versus the old Gen 2. The frame design no longer has the built-in footsteps we saw on the Gen 2. Instead, you'll need the stow decks. These decks fold down in increments with the pull of a knob at the back. This allows them to fold up when not in use and fold down to be used for footrest, support heavy bags, or just lash your cargo directly to them. The lock stand is improved. They changed the angle the kickstand sits, so it's a bit harder to roll the bike off, but now it doesn't rely on a latch to keep the bike in place. It has longer feet out the sides, you don't have to buy extensions, and a built-in cover to keep out grit and grime and lower the maintenance needed on that locking mechanism. The fit also felt a bit different to me. I actually liked it, and I think maybe there's a change in the seat tube angle, but I'm not fully sure, so don't quote me on that. There are also some minor things here and there, like the handlebar strap now has a place to stay when not in use, and the saddle is a much different design, which I personally liked. The GSD now comes in 4 models in North America, with 2 featuring Bosch's new smart system, and then 2 using the trusty Bosch e-bike system 2, the same as Gen 2's GSD. The price range here in the US is $4,999. I'm going to call it just $5,000, and then $9,499. The higher end or premium models are going to be the R14 and then the S10 that's behind me. Both of these have Bosch e-bike system 3 smart system. I'm just going to call it smart system from now on. You're going to have a Kiox 300 display, which is really nice and can work as a key. ABS, yes, you have anti-lock brake system. A heavier duty Mobi 34 fork for that ABS. And pre-installed is going to be the Bosch Connect module, which unlocks the e-bike GPS and alarm if you want to sign up for the subscription after the first 12 months. This is by far my favorite integrated e-bike tracking and GPS system. It works really well, runs off the battery, and the subscription fee is fairly cheap compared to some of the competitors. On the front, you have a brighter headlight with up to 700 lumens, and tucked in the back behind that lock stand is this fabulous USB-C 10-watt charging port to charge devices, add fairy lights, or I would be running a camera off the back of my bike and using the power from my bike. The S10 model has a Shimano Dior derailleur and chain with a 545 watt-hour power pack battery. US retail is $6,699. The R14 has the roll-off speed hub and a belt drive with massive 800 watt-hour battery. So much power in that battery. So cool. The US retail is $9,499. Now there's 2 other models, the P00 or P00 and the P10. These receive all the updates I mentioned earlier, like the frame, the lock stand, but it uses Bosch's e-bike system 2 with a 500 watt-hour power pack and a Purion display. It also has a downgraded headlight with only 450 lumens, and with that brightness, I do recommend adding a light to your helmet for super dark rides. The fork is the Mobi 32 instead of the 34, so the stanchions, which is this area right here, aren't as thick. Most people won't notice, but the fancier fork is needed when you're running ABS, which is not available on the P00 or P10. The P10 has a Shimano Dior derailleur with chain and is $4,999. There's the P00 has Enviolo internally geared hub with belt and is $5,999. If you want ABS brakes, the cool USB-C charging port, or any of the Bosch smart system features, you're going to need to get the more premium S10 or R14 model. How much better is it? At first glance, the new GSD may not look radically different from the Gen 2, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Great product design doesn't require major overhauls to improve it. Now, the key improvements that stand out for me, riding these side by side, this definitely feels sturdier, especially with my bigger kids on board. Now, I wouldn't say I probably would ever have noticed it on the Gen 2, but riding them back to back, it is very noticeable how much more rock steady the Gen 3 is. You have a refined lock stand. The lock stand is really a unique feature for the GSD, a huge selling feature, and the updates make it feel more secure and hopefully less maintenance needed. And it also just looks more refined and like something you would see on a fancy car and not just a cargo bike. You have the tech upgrades for the Smart System bike with Bosch's e-bike system 3, ABS brakes, that stronger, stiffer fork, and a USB-C port, which are all fantastic additions and really position the premium Gen 3 against, say, Resimular's Multi-Tinker. The Gen 3, to me, also reinforces Tern as a cargo bike leader. We're going to get a little bit personal for a moment, so feel free to skip this section. But, I've tested a lot of cargo bikes over the last 10 months since stepping away from Tern and launching cargobikelife.com. I've also realized that as a mom, I am very much on the cautious side when it comes to product testing with my kids on board. And I've had several bike motors fail mid-ride. Like, I am 8 miles away from home, live in a really hilly area, and now I got to get home with an 80-pound bike and my kids on board. Kickstands break, and maybe even more concerning, because it's like this unknown thing that's hiding under me, is that many cargo bike brands are not testing their entire bikes to this cargo bike testing standard. Many, when I've questioned, aren't even sure the last time they were tested and only could tell me what the frame was tested to, not the entire bike. So not that fork that's holding everything together, not the rear end, not the wheels. And partially this is because you don't have to here in the US. It's not a standard. And this is something that really started to concern me when things started failing under me, in less than 150 miles. So these experiences led me to pause testing on cargo bikes over the last few months. My kids aren't crash test dummies, and I couldn't afford to get hurt. So I was tired of being tech support, trying to replace motors and kickstands and test out new software to make things work. That's why when the GSD Gen 3 media preview landed in my inbox 2 or so months ago, I felt relieved. Tern's focus and emphasis on safety and testing to those standards matter, especially when I'm putting my own kids on a bike around traffic loaded with gear. It also led me back to wanting to work for Tern. It feels good to support a brand that prioritizes safety and design. I originally thought I needed to hype the whole cargo bike movement, all the brands or cargo bikes available. And I realized there's a lot of cargo bikes hitting the market or really popular in the market that don't hit any of those safety requirements and are not in it for the long haul. They're in it to check a cargo bike category off their lineup and hit a certain price point. So for now, I'm going to continue to amplify the cargo bike movement safely on the saddle of a Tern. So we've talked about what makes the GSD special, what differences between the Gen 2 and the Gen 3. I just gave you a taste of what standards Tern lives up to and why it might have a higher price point. So let's talk about if the GSD Gen 3 is worth it. If you're looking to replace car trips with a cargo bike that's comfortable, reliable, and tested for heavy-duty use, the Tern GSD is the best mid-tail option on the market. It also has the most accessory options available. If you have a Gen 2, the main reason you should look at upgrading is for the Bosch smart system features like the e-bike alarm, GPS, and maybe if you're interested, the ABS braking. If you don't need as much cargo capacity or tech features, or maybe you're on a tighter budget, Tern's Quick Haul Long might be a better fit, and it's also tested to a very high safety standard. That's my take on the new Tern GSD Gen 3. So what do you think? Did I cover everything? What are your thoughts on the updates? Drop a comment below. I would love to hear from you. As always, thank you so much for watching until the end. Stay well, stay good, and remember to bike more and worry less.